Hello everybody, hope you guys are all enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at our next winter storm over parts of the northern United States, including parts of the Midwest into the Great Lakes, and also for parts of the Northeast and Ohio Valley, where you could all be seeing some pretty good snowfall, and of course that is depending on your location, which we will get into further detail later on in the video, and we will also be breaking down pretty much the science and why we are seeing a pretty peculiar winter storm setup for this winter storm that is going to be upcoming within the next 4 to 6 days. So this would be going right around from Thursday to all the way until about Monday time frame. So here is the current National Weather Service, and you see we have winter weather alerts over scattered over parts of the Northwest, including winter weather advisories in those pinks in those purples, pinks indicating winter storm warnings, and in the blues you are seeing winter storm watches. We have some wind chill advisories over the northern Montana and northern North Dakota area, as well as some winter weather advisories over parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota. And we also have some flood watches and all types of flood related warnings and watches in effect for parts of the deep south, including Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and a little bit of Arkansas as well. Now, before we do get into all of this snowfall, total maps, and all that, I do want to first show you that this isn't unheard of to see some snowfall in January. Now, or really any time in the winter. This is your average total snowfall for from 19. They took this from 1981, I believe, all the way until 2010. They put all this together. They put all this data together from multiple locations, and then they mapped it out on this map. And of course, your key on the bottom right of your screen indicates how much snow each color means. And you see a lot of these areas that are getting impacted with this storm, it's not unheard of to see snowfall. Of course, you are seeing 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, or 2 to 4 feet of snowfall. As your average for most of these locations, and at the lowest, these areas that are getting impacted are seeing at least 18 to 24 inches. So a lot of these areas that expect snowfall, and you haven't gotten a lot of snowfall yet. So this is the time that you're gonna really need to you're either gonna make all your snowfall back up, or you're gonna have a very disappointing winter. And this is really one of those snowstorms that are gonna kind of set you on the right track, and then it'll kind of set the way. First, a couple more snowstorms, and I do believe that February will be definitely a cold and snowy month, at least for the early part. We'll have to see about the later part of February, because we do have a very favorable pattern coming up and setting in place over those areas. And you can go check out my videos on my channel. I think I have 2 videos out on that, just that topic specifically, that were posted within the last week or 2, so you can go check those out. Now, here's the current GFS model, and here is your 500 millibar height anomalies. Now, this is 18,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And anywhere in these reds and oranges, those are high pressures. So this would be an example of a high pressure. And here, anywhere in these blues, those are low pressures, or your storm systems, basically. So now, we are going to continue this. I'm going to just show you the pattern that is setting up and that is putting the system into motion. So we are taking a view over the North Atlantic. We have this high pressure situated over the border between Quebec and Ontario, Canada. And then we also have this little energy, this little piece of energy that's ripping off from this main energy that's over parts of Western Canada. And this is going to be your storm system that's going to come in around Saturday. So we also have this very intense low pressure out here. Now, this low pressure is really going to be what blocks this high pressure that will also block this low pressure. So we have this low pressure being blocked by this high pressure right over here. And because this low pressure has nowhere to go, neither does this high pressure. So you're going to have this cold air in place until this low pressure is going to kind of sneak its way south under this high pressure and be allowed to move. So that's why you are gonna that's what you're gonna see as we continue this. This would be for Sunday, and then into Monday here. So after the storm system does set up, though, you do see a pretty cold pattern does set up. So that's what I'm talking about with this cold and snowy pattern that looks to set up within the next coming week or so. Now, Here is your precipitation over the North Atlantic over that same view. Now, you can't show on this view. Unfortunately, you cannot see your snow and rainfall. So this is just your precipitation, how heavy it is. But you don't have to see your snow on this map. We will take a closer look at the U.S., just the U.S., and look at snow and all that. But you can see this low pressure is very intense. We have about a 950 low pressure and a 1044 high pressure. So both very sharp decreases and increases in pressure. It's going to be a very windy day on Saturday and Sunday as this low pressure arrives. And you see this high pressure does sink south, so that's what allows this system to move off. If this high pressure didn't sink south and it just stayed there, if we had some more blocking out in the South Atlantic, this system would probably produce a good foot or two more. This would have been a prime setup if this high pressure was still allowed to sit over parts of easternmost Canada. Now, I do want to get into quickly the actual precipitation and so your snowfall and rainfall. You see, here's your system by Friday morning. Now this would be for Friday afternoon, and you're seeing snowfall according to the GFS starting to break out over parts of the Great Lakes. Now you have this cold air it's really going to be for the Northeast and Great Lakes. It's going to be a matter of how long can this cold air stick in place, because eventually it's going to switch over to rain for most of you. Now as we continue this, you're going to see by Sunday morning, it's all out of here for the most part. Some interior Northeast light snow flurries, but that's mainly off the lakes. That's more lake effect snowfall there. And then this low pressure, this storm system moves out. Now, here's your total snowfall before this system arrives, because there are going to be two systems. There is going to be this first system that comes in before, and then, of course, this big system that we are talking about for the later part of this week. So you see we have a general 1 to 2 inches over the northern plains, and then as you get into the northeast, you're seeing closer to 3 to 6. Now, take in mind, this new map shows for both of these systems. So you're not necessarily seeing 2 feet of snow over New England. That's also added on with how much you saw. So you are seeing about close to about 6 inches, especially as you get into the northern plains, and then kind of stretching into the northeast according to the GFS model. Now, I do want to show you the European model as well to kind of compare and contrast these models. So here's the European model, and I'm agreeing more with the European model because it is more of a conservative look to what is going to happen. It doesn't show as much snow, and also it doesn't show as much snow closer to the coast, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think you're going to see too much snow close to the coast, but of course this still does have time to change. So I'm not going to make my mind fully up, and also I'm not making my snowfall maps until I feel kind of decided. If the models are still bouncing around and I'm still bouncing around, I'm not going to make a forecast because I'm not ready to make a forecast and I don't want to misinform you guys. So here's your system coming up for Friday morning. Now this part is pretty decided that we do have a band of moderate snow that picks up over Iowa and Minnesota, and then also you have that ice setup. So where this ice does set up, that is where you're going to have to really take caution. Now, this is 84 hours out. That's about 4 days out, or 3.5 days out. So definitely some time for this to change. Now, as we get into your Saturday morning, it's now heading over the Great Lakes. Your low pressure system is actually set up right over Chicago in that area, and that's going to move further to the east, and then it's going to kind of sit over Toronto right there. So it's going to kind of bounce around from city to city there. Now, as we continue this, usually with this type of pattern setup, you're not going to really see snowfall over the northeast. You're going to be all rain over this area. But because, again, you do have this high pressure that's sat up in parts of Canada that's departing as this storm is continuing to go on, you're going to have a little bit of leftover cold air that's being pressed down south, and that is going to be pushed south. So that is why you're seeing that snowfall in an unfavorable low pressure position. Now, as we continue this, turns all rain to the coast, and even that's all the way into the the northern New England coast, and then you see some lake effect snow returns. Now, here's your snowfall for the first system, and then here's your snowfall for the next system. So, parts in northern New England, of course, you're gonna see maybe a 1.5 feet of snowfall, but that isn't gonna be just from this system. It's gonna be from two systems, and this is according to the European model. Now, if we do flip back and forth, you can see these southern locations don't see too much snowfall out of this first system. So you can kind of take these as your solid amounts. You're gonna most likely, at least according to the European models, see right around a 2 to 4 inch area that's set up from basically, if you go from I-95 just north and west of there, you're going to be seeing a pretty good area of 2 to 4 inches, and maybe even closer to 6 inches. And then also right around I-80, just north of there, you should be picking up closer to 2 to 4 inches of snow, and then a little bit more as you get further north than there. Now, that is gonna wrap it up with this video. Please, I really hope that you did enjoy this video, and I did spend a lot of time working on this video and kind of looking between the models. And I have been just really monitoring the storm pretty closely. It is going to be your first big storm for many of these areas that haven't seen too much snowfall. So I am going to be monitoring this system with you, and I hope you guys did enjoy this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.